Welcome to Sacred Disruption. This isn't a podcast about leadership strategies. It is a space to return to what's real, what's felt, what's quietly powerful beneath the noise. Today's episode is a little more personal. I want to share the path I walked to become the kind of woman who no longer builds culture, but holds it. A path from structure to softening, from knowing to listening, from strategy to resonance. If you have ever found yourself doing all the right things, designing all the right frameworks, and still feeling that something's missing, this episode is for you. When I first stepped into culture work, I brought with me what I had learned in academia. The structured approach, the right models, the way culture was meant to be built. That's what I was trained to do, and I was good at it. Clear frameworks, culture audits, defined values, strategy decks, executive workshop, implementation plans. For a while, it worked, and at least from the outside, teams felt more aligned, culture looked structured. We had language, we had statements, we had rollouts. But inside, I began to feel it. Something was off. Not from performance, but from presence. The air in the room often felt tight. Trust was spoken, but not really felt. And my own body started bracing too. Then came a moment that shifted everything for me. I had been hired to build the HR and communication departments for a company with a 400% fluctuation rate. Yes, 400. Employees were changing 4 times a year. It affected everything, not just operations, but energy, morale, trust, delivery, you name it. And something in me just knew this wasn't a place for frameworks. These people didn't need strategy first. They needed safety. They were too new, too tired, too discouraged. Strategy wouldn't felt like helpful. Strategy would have felt like a decoration on a cracked foundation. So I didn't start with top-down clarity. I didn't run audits or launch values programs. I didn't try to install culture. I listened. I gathered small groups. We had open conversations, storytelling, connection. We built tiny pockets of psychological safety. Over time, we created something real, not through strategy, but through space. A year later, that same company had 0 turnover. The only people who left were retiring or having babies. That particular experience cracked something open in me. It showed me what happens when we stop trying to manage culture and instead hold it with presence. From there, I began listening more closely, not just to people's words, but to their field, as I call it. I started working differently, sitting with the leader first, not asking about their culture plan, but watching how they breathe. Literally, how they respond, how their nervous system sets the tone. And slowly, I stopped facilitating change. I started holding the frequency where change could happen. I wasn't guiding workshops anymore. I was tuning the signal. Let me explain. When I say I tune the signal, I mean I sit with the leader, not to fix, advise, or direct, but to feel the tone they're currently carrying. I notice the texture of their voice, the pace of their decisions, the tension that lives in their shoulders when they talk about their team. I pay attention to what's not said, the stories that run beneath the words, the urgency in their breath, the places where trust is performed but not lived. And yes, I can see that. And I don't try to change it. I attune to it. I slow the room. I hold the silence a little longer. I soften my body until theirs begin to match it. This isn't coaching. It's coherence. The more stable I become, the more I can hold the bubble in others without flinching. And over time, their nervous systems start to settle. They stop rushing, they begin to hear themselves. And in that stillness, new signal begins to emerge. Culture doesn't shift because someone makes a plan. It shifts because someone starts to live a different tone and holds it long enough for others to feel safe inside it. That is the work I do now. Not building culture, but becoming it. Recently, my client, a hotel owner, asked me a question I've heard many times before. How do I choose the right consultant or mentor or coach? He was convinced the answer was find someone who has crushed it in business, someone with titles, the numbers, the success. And while I could have offered him more strategic reply, I just told him the truth. I don't know, I said. But what I do know is this. I'm not here to give you answers. I'm here to help you hear the ones you are already carrying, the ones you may have forgotten how to access. That is the signal I hold. Not better, not louder, just cleaner, simpler. Because when the field is steady enough, the truth comes back. Culture returns. And leadership begins again, but this time from within. If this way speaks to you, if you feel yourself softening just by listening to this, then maybe your signal is already shifting too. And I'll be right here, not to guide you from the front, but to walk beside you as your partner, as you become the tone your culture has been waiting for. If you want to keep walking together, you are invited to join my private newsletter, Beneath the Noise. And this autumn, I'll be opening the doors to Behind Leadership, a quiet, resonant membership field for leaders, space holders, and sacred disruptors as me. You'll find all the details on my website or right in the show notes below. Until next time, take care.